Life can be fast-paced, strenuous, and flat-out overwhelming. Life transitions and taboo topics can make it hard to catch your breath. Welcome to Breathe, a podcast that enables you to slow down, get your bearings, and engage in real conversations where no topic is off limits. Breathe is presented by Breath of Life, hosted by David Person and speaker-director Pastor Debleaire Snell.
Welcome to Breathe. I'm David Person, and as you know, this podcast would not be what it is without our speaker-director of Breath of Life and senior pastor of the Oakwood University Church, Pastor Debleaire Snell. How you doing?
Hey, I'm good. It's another Monday, so it's becoming my favorite day of the week. Well, Sabbath's my favorite day. Well, but Monday, I'm excited about being with you guys.
Beginning,
our Breath of Life family.
Yeah. Love it.
And of course, that's Pastor Kirk Nugent.
Yeah.
Over there, as we would have said back in the hip hop era, on the ones and twos.
On the ones and twos.
Come on. The wings of steel. Come on.
On the ones and twos.
Yeah.
We're making it do what it do. Come on.
All right.
Hey, we got a guest, man.
Bars, yeah. And yes, we do have a guest. She has returned.
Yeah.
Come on.
First Lady Gianna Snell, how are you?
I'm good. So happy to be back.
Well, we're glad to have you.
Yes.
It always brightens up the
Come
studio.
on.
When you're here. This man becomes a different person.
My.
I feel a little better than David.
Yes, indeed.
This side looks better. Though.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. We're going to be going to that shot a lot.
Yes, absolutely. So today, today we have a conversation that is that we're going to be having here, and this was not my idea. I don't think it was Pastor Nugent's
I didn't get the memo.
Oh, really? So you're just going to out us? Is that how we start today?
Just to make sure people know,
Is that how we started?
But you can take the heat, Pastor.
There we go.
So this subject today is avoiding adultery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Avoiding adultery.
Avoiding adultery.
Yeah.
Okay.
Avoiding it.
Yeah.
So I guess it prompts me to ask, in all seriousness, all kidding aside, how common do you think adultery is in the church?
Wow.
If my memory serves me correct, in many ways, the same way the divorce rate in the church mirrors the divorce rate in the world.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think the percentage of adultery, it's about the same. So depending on what data you read or believe or deem credible, maybe 37 to 40% of Christian men versus the world. And, I think the women, in terms of professed or acknowledged, it's kind of maybe in that low to mid 30%, of women who confess of being unfaithful to their marital vows. And so it's both, that number is the same in the church as it is outside.
And we are talking, when we say adultery, we're talking actual physical adultery, or
no,
we're talking
I think it's all inappropriate contact for someone who is married.
Okay.
So I think it's inclusive of both physical or sexual.
Okay.
And kind of emotional entanglements, as Jada Pinkett would say, entanglements. Yeah.
Well, I've heard people say that there's financial adultery.
Wow.
But I think that's a part of that whole emotional.
Yeah.
I think it's a part, because where your treasure is, there your heart's going to be also. So those two are the same.
Agreed. Okay.
And financial adultery can be, what's an example of that?
Where you're doing things financially completely separate from your spouse. You're purchasing, you're making, zero disclosure. Like you've got an entire other world happening, and no consideration, no conversation, no disclosure, no openness. Yeah. So
wow.
Not true.
Yeah. And that's been a conversation that I've seen pop up here or there. So interesting.
Mm-hmm. Well, they used to just say independence. Now they're terming it adultery.
It's true. Okay, that's probably but it's in that whole vein of we're supposed to be doing this together.
Yeah,
and I'm kind of doing this on my own.
So it doesn't have to be centered on another person. It's just I'm operating
life outside of the union.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's interesting.
Wow. I've never heard.
That's an interesting way to look at it. Life outside of the union.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that, because that really illuminated it for me.
Yeah.
So anything that you're doing that is that places, I guess, a wedge or some separation, some distance between you and your spouse is on that spectrum, even if it's not where you're physically or even emotionally with somebody, connecting to somebody else.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing.
We're saying?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
that broadens it.
Well, it certainly I think makes it clear. It expands the danger zone for sure. You know, because you're putting yourself, you know, you're making yourself perhaps more vulnerable. To emotional or physical attachments with somebody else.
Yeah.
Speaking of, I'm sorry.
No, well, that's the building block. I mean, it kind of sets the groundwork for other things to happen. I mean, if you're secretive in this space, that it just becomes easier to be more secretive in other spaces as well. Yeah.
Speaking of which, since we're talking nomenclature here, there's another term that I had not heard until preparing for this conversation today. Micro-cheating.
Ooh.
First Lady, you want to tackle that? What is micro-cheating?
Micro-cheating, I think it is those small little actions that sometimes go under the radar that make people feel like, well, I didn't do anything. You know, I didn't do anything. But it's those little things like saying that you're single when you're not. Ooh. Or secretly communicating with someone, sending private messages that you don't want discovered. You know, those types of things where you're hiding it, where you're being intentional about it. You may not be physical with the person or even emotional yet, but there are certain steps that are being taken to, like you said, lay the groundwork for something to happen. And for this person to believe that they have a shot, that they can, you know, get with you. You haven't blocked them. You're like secretly, you know, entangled.
Essentially, it's
getting entangled with them.
It's leaving the door cracked is really what it is.
Right,
it's
exactly.
You know, as opposed to emotionally kind of closing the door. It's a way of saying, I'm open for business without really saying it. It's kind of expressing, it's giving available energy without using words that say I'm available.
Right.
You know, so I think it's kind of a emotional dog whistling of sorts, you know. So that kind of puts it out there.
I like that phrase. Go ahead.
Does it so because I've heard the phrase used work wife or work husband. I mean I've heard this.
I've heard that too.
I don't know.
In conversation with where the spouse is there.
Yeah. So the way I've always interpreted that, and I know they used to say that, for example, famously about Dr. Condoleezza Rice and former President George Bush. They said that she was his work wife. But I think what they meant was they had a close, very synergistic connection when it came to work. I don't think they were suggesting that there was something sexual or emotional.
Well, in a lot of those instances where this is shared, that term is used. They're not actually suggesting anything is happening either. They're suggesting exactly what you're saying.
Their responsibilities in the work setting require them to be together so often.
Right. That they're working together and they've developed a rapport.
Right.
And kind of a teamwork kind of a nature. So I'm just saying, would that fall in the category of micro cheating? That's more why I bring it up than
I don't doesn't sound like it to me.
Not in a vacuum, but I think it's the kind of
there it is.
It's the kind of dynamic
that
if that door is cracked, that could lead to
that's the point.
Terrible results.
Yes.
If your door is cracked, you know.
Right.
So I just think that even the more you have to share space in that way, I think your guardrails have to be that much more intentional and clear across the board.
So Sister Gianna sent me a list of 15 examples of micro-cheating. I want to just
But I didn't come up with the list.
So somebody else did. Somebody else did. But
A-list.
So it's A-list, not your list, but A-list.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. All right. Secretly messaging someone.
My.
Meeting with someone without your partner knowing. Complaining about your partner to another person. Saying things like, if I weren't in a relationship, maybe we could. Maintaining
I don't know if that's micro.
Micro,
I feel
I'm
like
saying that's pretty big.
Flat out shit. You
Macro.
Yeah, macro.
Macro.
Yeah.
Mercy.
Maintaining contact with your exes.
Oh, that's slippery.
So I would assume
Now,
that
I
means
agree.
without the knowledge of the other person and
Well-
in ways that are, or you think
With
even
or without.
Well,
depending
with or
on-
without.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
See, there's many schools of thought on this one. Now, there's many schools of thought on this. Some people feel like, man, it's scorched earth. They're gone. And then there are others who are like, well, we're actually still tight. We're still friends. And so,
Well, what if you have children together?
Well, right.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
well, no, in
Absolutely.
that absolutely. I'm more speaking from a dating perspective, but I see your point. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. With your ex, that's absolutely a thing.
Flirtatious joking. Creating a dating profile across dating
No, that's
platforms.
cheating. That's cheating.
Right. Come on. Come on now.
Right, that's straight up cheating. Yeah, that's not micro.
That's not micro.
That's cheating.
That's just cheating. A dating profile.
You're wrong.
Wow. Now.
And then Gianna already said telling someone you're single when you aren't.
When you're
That's
not
cheating.
Cheating, yeah.
Sending someone photos of yourself. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
Why would I send photos to a
Right.
woman that I'm
Mercy.
Yeah.
not?
But if we go back to the second to last one, are you explicitly saying that you're single, or are you putting off single energy? The reason why I'm saying that, let me paint a picture. So this is a real scenario. So a good friend of mine did not wear a wedding band, did not recognize that in the circles he was in, that was the signifier for
Sure.
the
Yeah.
others
Yeah.
to stay away,
Right.
which that's debatable as well. So somebody who he had been working with, had been getting close to, had been tasked to be on projects with,
Yeah.
thought he was available and began to shoot her shot. And he was appalled, and so was she, to realize that
That
this
he was
man is married.
Yeah.
So he was, he definitely went out the next day and bought a wedding band. But the other thing he was trying to understand was I putting off something that said I was single? Because I felt like I carried myself in a way that would be, above reproach, essentially, as a married man should. So, I mean, my response to him was, it doesn't matter. If all she was looking for was a ring,
Right.
Right.
you're a friendly guy, and that's
there's
really
a lot
what it was.
There's a lot of nuance to that, right? So,
Right.
I mean, if this is something, that happens over the course of 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
But I kind of feel like if you're in a work environment with the same group of people for 6 months to a year, I feel like the fact that you're married
Should have come up.
kind of should, even in the cast.
Yeah.
So again, I'm not,
You're
I'm
right,
not trying
you're
to indict,
Totally,
your
totally,
friend, but I
yeah.
just kind of feel like, I mean, if you're around me for any time, you're going to kind of know I'm a sports fan. You'll know there's just certain things that that kind of come out.
I totally agree.
and I do think if you're married,
Yeah.
you have to be pretty intentional, even if you don't wear a ring, to kind of keep that from coming. You're going to know I have kids. You're going to know.
Agreed.
Like there's just certain things
You're going to find out.
Yeah.
Now, what do you say
If
to
I'm around you with any consistency,
Consistency.
yeah.
What do you say to the person who says, I want to keep my work life and my private life separate? So I don't really want them to know anything beyond me
Kids.
other
Yeah.
than.
Yeah, but I do think, and I respect that, because I think you can do that. But I think that the knowledge that I am committed to someone else in marriage, I think that's something that can be disclosed without the details and answering questions and allowing people in your inner world and having those barriers high. I think you can do both of those things. I don't think that's an either or. Either they know everything or they don't know I'm not married at all. I think you can navigate that space.
I agree with you. Let's see. Where am I on the list here? Having secret friendships. Discussing your intimate desires with someone who isn't your partner.
Secret friendships. help me. What is a secret friendship? That's
A friendship you don't disclose
This is
with
cheating.
the person.
This
on the
is
outside.
just cheating.
It's just cheating, or a friendship that your spouse doesn't know anything about.
Right.
I think that's.
how is
Yeah.
that possible?
But honestly, though, so I ain't gonna lie, Kurt. So there are people I think that are probably listening to this and saying, "Oh no, I have some friends that my husband doesn't know about, or my wife, And there's some people that are completely, if they feel at least at that point that relationship has not crossed a boundary, there are people that feel like, okay, I have this work friendship, or I go to this gym and I work out with this woman or this man and so on and so forth. Right. But because it hasn't crossed a boundary, there's no need to inform my spouse. How do I say this? At some point, it's going to become a problem. Yeah. But I do think there are certain people that until it becomes a problem, they don't really see anything wrong with it. I'm thinking through a number of conversations that I had with people over the years.
I guess. Yeah. Are there people that I know that Kanique doesn't know? Sure. But I would never term those relationships as secret. You see what I'm saying? Like the secret part means you're intentionally keeping it from them. Exactly. Yeah. I'm not intentionally keeping it from them. We just paths haven't crossed to where she's actually been able to meet them. But I might have mentioned like, hey, I was talking to Tom, and maybe she doesn't know who Tom is, but it's not a secret. So once you said secret, I'm like, oh no. If you're intentionally keeping that relationship from your spouse, right? I feel like that's
I think that's what that word secret implies. Yeah. Is like, I don't want you to know. I'm intentionally trying to deceive by keeping this a secret. We met at a conference. We met at when I was on a plane, and we just keeping in touch. And we're in
the DMs and
so Sister Gianna, let me ask you this: do you believe that a spouse has an obligation to disclose any relationship that appears to have some significance in a person's life?
Why not?
Why not?
Why not? I mean, I think that it's important to keep everything above board, to avoid the appearance of evil, as the Bible says. So if this person is that significant and you're sharing that much time with them, or your life with them, or your dreams with them, or whatever you're sharing with them, then I think all of us should be at the table and be aware of what's going on, just to avoid any wrong conclusions. And so I just think that's just a way to avoid, especially if there's already been any type of deceit or hurt or a broken trust. So, when there hasn't been that, then, maybe there can be a little more leeway, not secretive friendships, but just, we're not tracking each other. We're not, but especially when that trust has been broken, we have to be completely full disclosure.
Breathe is keeping it real today. First Lady Gianna Snell came into the studio sitting next to her husband, Pastor Debleaire Snell, both of them sitting across from me and Pastor Kirk Nugent, and we got in and went in deep on the topic of marriage and fidelity. Yes, we did. Yes, we did. All right. So that's just part one. Part two is coming next week. And when you hear that one, it will keep you, I guarantee you're going to be glued to the screen, the whatever you're listening to, or however you're listening to us, or however you're watching us. You're going to be glued. You're going to be keyed in. This is a real discussion about real life, and we're keeping it very real. All right. Until next time, I'm David Person. God bless you. Don't forget, no matter how challenging life may be, you can always stop, pray, and breathe.
Breathe is produced by David Person for Breath of Life. Executive producer is Debleaire Snell, and sound engineer is Kirk Nugent. Audio episodes of Breathe can be found on Apple, Spotify, or Google podcast platforms. For video episodes and extra content, check out the Breath of Life YouTube channel. Breath of Life is faith-based content, resources, and programs from a contemporary urban perspective for those looking for hope and guidance. We believe that every breath we take is a testimony that God is consistent, that He loves us, and has a plan for our lives.